Good morning, Happy Valley, and welcome back to another edition of the Penn State 365 podcast. I'm your host, Richie O'Leary, and today we have a special guest joining us in Inside Nebraska.com, aka the Nebraska Rivals site, staff writer Steve Marik. I think I got that right. I've already forgot the pronunciation, but Steve,
that's all
welcome
right.
to the
We'll
show.
roll with it.
All right, close enough. Steve, so some exciting news for Penn State recently. We're bringing you on because they just landed Nebraska transfer guard Eli Rice.
Mm-hmm.
Eli Rice played 17 games, didn't really play a ton. Was he injured? Just tell me a little bit about his background, about what kind of player Penn State is getting, and
He would have played a lot more if he did not suffer a high ankle sprain in late January. Okay. So yes, he was a look. A lot of Husker fans were kind of bummed that he hit the portal and left. So if I'm a Penn State fan, I'm excited about the addition of Eli Rice. He's like you said, spent his true freshman season in Lincoln. He played a post grad season at IMG. He's originally from Tennessee. He was one of the best high school seniors in Tennessee. He had kind of an odd high school career because if I remember correctly, he had a back injury. And he had a crazy growth spurt too that kind of like messed with his back. So he only played two seasons of high school basketball, I believe. And then he just needed more development and stuff. So he went down to IMG and developed further. And that's where Nebraska first kind of discovered him at an AAU tournament in Atlanta, I believe. Got him on a visit. He committed, and it was a cool story and stuff because he's a talented guy. He knows how to score the basketball. He brings great positional flexibility for Penn State. 6'8", a little over 200 pounds, of 215, I think, around there. There's a lot of potential with Eli Rice. He brings shot making ability. He's a really good 3-point shooter. As he grows and develops on the court, I think the defensive ceiling is going to rise with him. But yeah, if I'm a Penn State fan, this is awesome. I really like this pickup for Penn State.
Yeah, now 6'7", 213. A lot of people say guard.
Yeah, a lot of people.
I know
he came in 6'6", 6'7", but he grew once he was at Nebraska. He's a legit 6'8". It's a big. He's a big guy. So it's and he's got guard skills too. You're seeing that a lot more and more. Nebraska just picked up former Rutgers a freshman from last season, and Gavin Griffiths, kind of the same.
Yep.
A little bit same build there, just a bigger guy with guard skills, stuff like that, can shoot the ball. But Eli Rice is not a finished product by any means. His best basketball is ahead of him. So as he continues to get older, get stronger, just work on other parts of his game, especially on the defensive end, I think that's kind of where he needs to grow the most. Because I think it was a little like all freshmen, it was a little overwhelming sometimes playing in the Big Ten, especially on the defensive end of the court. But there's no denying that guy knows how to score the ball, and I'm sure he's going to have a role doing that for the can't pronounce it, for Penn State, the Nittany Lions. So I'm excited for Eli. He's a great kid and everything. Just kind of felt like he needed a change, and there he is at Happy Valley.
So I know he only played, I think we said 17 games.
Yeah.
He did shoot 42%, effective field goal percentage of 52.2, shot 37 from 3, 72 from the free throw line. Is he just that good of a shooter? Because it's hard to tell when he's only played in, 17 games, and only 5 of those games were double digits minutes. So
yeah, for sure. Yeah, he did not have a large role because for Nebraska's team, they had a lot of veterans, and so it was always going to be hard for him to kind of crack the rotation and stuff. But early in the season, before the high ankle sprain, I mean, he was a key piece off the bench. He was getting minutes off the bench, and he was flashing really good things. Like, he would do things like every once in a while that just like wowed you. Like, wow, this guy's got like some offensive talent. Like I said before, he's a bucket getter. He just knows how to score. He will always score the basketball. I think it's just the other parts of his game Nebraska fans didn't have time to see grow and develop, especially on defensive end, because I think he was kind of lost at times at that. And, Nebraska, has a defensive system that, I think you need multiple seasons under your belt to kind of just truly kind of get into it and understand what your role, understand the defensive rotations, what you're supposed to do. So, there's a lot of growth with Eli Rice left to come. And I think his best basketball is ahead of him because he's a talented scorer.
Yeah. So now he didn't take a ton of threes this season, but it seems like he can hit it. Where are most of his points coming from? Is he attacking the rim? Is he hitting the mid-range shots? Is it just the 3-point? Because I think 27 3-point attempts.
Yeah, he didn't play a lot, but when he was out there, he was mostly used as kind of a offensive bucket getter. I mean, that's how Fred Hoiberg used him, and a lot of those were from 3-point range, actually. So late in the season, I think it was like Iowa, he had like 11 points in that Iowa game in, I think it was January or something like that. They lost the game, but that was the first time where Eli Rice, I felt, kind of did more with his game. He wasn't just a spot up 3-point shooter. He put the ball on the deck. He attacked the hoop, and he showed a different side of his game. And it excited me. And I think it excited a lot of Husker fans because he was kind of just branching out, I think, and showing a different side of his game that he didn't show before, because early in the season, he was just inserted. He would make a 3. He would take a couple of them, make one, and then go back to the bench. Just because he was just a true freshman learning everything about college basketball. But early in the season, he was used as a 3-point shooter. Later in the season, I think he kind of took it upon himself as like, I'm more than that. And he was like showing his, just his ability to get to the rim. He's pretty crafty in the rim. Like I said, 6'8". He's a long body, strong finishes through contact here and there. So, it's just, he's super young. He's got a ways to go on the defensive end. You can't deny the offensive ability, though.
Yeah. So now I know he didn't start any games for Nebraska this year, but is he a future starting caliber big guy? Like, what, are all Big Ten down the front line, anything like that? Or is it just another rotation guy?
I guess right now, I don't know Penn State's roster as well as I do as Nebraska's, but depending on what Penn State has coming back, he's absolutely going to be an option to start. I think Penn State fans might see the same defensive issues that Nebraska fans did. But again, that's going to get better the more games he plays. He just needs to play games. Like his season was cut short due to that high ankle sprain in late January. So he just needs games. He just needs more minutes to learn and grow and stuff. And it's not always going to look great just because he's a young guy trying to figure it out. He needs to gain strength. He needs to get bigger still. But all Big Ten, I'm not quite sure about that, but who knows? I mean, the sky's the limit for this kid just because of what he's blessed with his body, his length, his shot making ability. It's just that defensive end of the court that, if he shores that up, he's going to take off, I think.
Yeah, that's really all I have for you on Eli Rice. But I do want to ask you a little bit about Nebraska this year.
Sure.
Like you just mentioned, they did add Gavin Griffiths, forward guard, wing, whatever you want to call him.
Yeah.
They had a 21-win season, or 23-win season, number 8 seed in the tournament. What's Nebraska's outlook kind of looking like right now based on portal additions and incoming freshmen?
Yeah, so it was a really good year, obviously, for Nebraska basketball. It was the second most wins in program history. They made the NCAA tournament for the first time in a decade. Fred Hoiberg got a long contract extension. And, there's a lot of excitement right now, basketball excitement in Lincoln. And, that's notable because it's a football state and it's a football program. So what Fred Hoiberg has done to kind of shift the narrative of Nebraska basketball, I think has been pretty impressive. And, so they got good news. The offseason and the transfer portal has been crazy. I think six guys entered the portal. None of them were really like that shocking. I guess like in today's landscape, what's shocking anymore? Everybody can leave. But
that's true.
The good news about the transfer portal stuff is Nebraska did get right now 3 transfer additions. So one of them, the first one was North Dakota State big guy Andrew Morgan, and he's kind of like a stretch 4 or 5. And Fred Hoiberg kind of likes dipping into the lower level conferences. I hate saying lower level, but just mid-major conferences and taking some guys who have spent some years there, developed, and you're getting kind of like a finished product, an old guy who can kind of bang down low and use his physicality and his size. And Andrew Morgan is a perfect fit for a state like Nebraska. He's from a farm in Minnesota, and that just kind of it just fits. Like he's going to be a tough country guy down here, and I think Husker fans are going to like him. Also they have Gavin Griffiths. You know him very well, full of potential in my opinion. Just needs to play more, just needs to get stronger, get bigger. The shot will come, I think. So it's a really exciting time right now. And then also They needed some guard help. They needed a ball handler, and they went out and got one in Raleigh Worcester. He's spent the past 3 years at Utah, his true freshman year at Utah State. So he's a grad transfer with one more season of eligibility. And I think he's going to be a big help as well from what he's going to bring, not as like a shooting point or a scoring guard wise, but what he brings defensively, his mindset. He's a facilitator, and a creator for others. Nebraska needed that last year, and they didn't really have a true point guard. It would be sure nice to have a true point guard, and that's what Raleigh Worcester is. And they also have former Iowa Hawkeye point guard Aaron Eulis, who was not eligible to play last year because of the Iowa gambling stuff, but he's expected to be eligible this season. So that's going to be a big help as well, having two proven ball handlers on the roster to kind of go back and forth with and have them kind of set things up for Fred Hoiberg's offense, which did pretty well last year. A lot of times it was like a top 100 offense, top I think 70 offense in the country. So yeah, and then also they got good news. The team got good news with Bryce Williams and Juwan Gary, which are going to be two sixth-year guys next season. They were like two parts of the three-man core. So getting them back is absolutely massive because they were two of the best players on the entire team. And then we'll have to wait and see what Rink Mast does. He also has a year of eligibility remaining as well, but he has options. He can choose to play professionally overseas if he wants. There's been some chatter about that, but he can also come back and play one more season. So Nebraska has a lot of good stuff returning, but they also, need to start rounding out the roster, and they're going to be using the transfer portal, to help do that too. So they also have a really interesting true freshman, Nick Janowski. He's from Pewaukee, Wisconsin. He's a 4-star guard. I think he's going to play right away. I think he's going to has the potential to be a scoring option off the bench immediately as a true freshman next year, because he's like his shot. He's fun to watch. He's got a really great stroke. He shot an absurd amount of threes during his high school career at Pewaukee. He won 3 state championships. He almost won 4. I know that kind of irritated him, and I was talking to him about that a little bit, and I think that kind of gives him some motivation to come to Nebraska and kind of continue on with that success and being the guy and maybe the face of a program down the road. Not as a true freshman, obviously, but so there's a lot of good things happening with Nebraska basketball right now.
Okay, and last one I really got for you. I don't know how familiar you are with Nebraska's NIL situation at all, or
a little bit.
Okay,
it was not good 2 seasons ago.
Yeah,
it was a little bit better last season, but this season I think with the new administration in Nebraska's athletic department, with Troy Dannon being the new AD after Trev Alberts left for Texas A&M, he's going all in on supporting NIL at Nebraska. And I think that wasn't maybe something that was happening when Trev Alberts was around with the 1890 initiative. That's the main basketball collective right now, and football collective. But, I think Nebraska's NIL for the basketball side was not very good past 2 seasons, but it's getting better. It's getting a lot better, I think. And I think, we might be seeing that right now with some of the additions that they have made and they are going to make upcoming here.
Yeah, I want to ask you a little more in depth about that, just for the sole fact that Penn State's seeing NIL issues of their own, whether it be donor fatigue, whether it be just the older generation just not really accepting NIL as a thing. Did Nebraska kind of see that over the past couple of years? Because these are two very, very old programs.
I think maybe it's different because Penn State's similar in the fact, I think, because it's a football school, right? I mean, Nebraska is a football school as well. And so I just don't know if there was, and with NIL being sort of new and developing and over time and new rules being set, guardrails being needed, it's still a developing industry for sure. And I think Nebraska was just kind of there. It just wasn't where it needed to be at. And I think it's getting closer right now, but I just don't know how much support it got on the basketball side of things. You always hear rumors here and there. It's tough to ever know what is true or not. So I hesitate in even talking about some of that stuff. But I think I can say with confidence that Nebraska's NIL situation on the basketball side is getting much better.
Yeah, I only asked because the football side in Penn State's struggling right now. They just started, they just started one of those matches where it's like a $500,000 retain the raw initiative or something like that, just to try to keep players on board. So football's struggling, basketball has always struggled, wrestling seems to have it down pat, but the other two sports, that's why I asked, because I was curious about Nebraska's situation involved in not just basketball, but football too.
It's getting better, and I'm not sure what the situation is around the country, but in Penn State's instance, are there multiple collectives doing it, or is there like one main one?
There was multiple. They all merged into one, thinking it was the better idea, which I would probably agree there.
Yeah, absolutely. And with Nebraska, by far, it's 1890 is the 1890 initiative is the main collective at the University of Nebraska. They've been doing all the football, and now they're doing better in basketball. And I think the new one, like I mentioned, the new administration in the athletic department at Nebraska, Troy Dannon being the new AD, taking over for Troy Alberts, I think that is going to produce more NIL opportunities for all the athletes at Nebraska, but especially basketball too. I think they're going to raise that standard.
Yeah, for sure. And I think the NCAA just approved, or is about to approve a new rule saying that ADs can kind of point guys towards deals and stuff like that.
I think the schools are going to be much more involved now in NIL deals for their student athletes. And I don't think that was really, possible back then. Schools being involved in their own dealings right now, I think that's going to be huge. Taking things in-house, I think that's going to be a massive development.
Yeah, and I'm not even gonna pick your brain about revenue sharing because we know that's coming next. So yeah, that's next. But two Big Ten programs, they should be fine with that aspect. But yeah, that's really all I got, Steve. Anything you want to plug or anything like that?
No, just for all the Penn State fans out there that might want some Husker coverage, just InsideNebraska.com. That we do a good job. We try really hard. And Eli Rice, I like his ceiling. I think a lot of people are going to enjoy watching him, especially offensively.
Awesome. All right. For me and Steve, that's another edition of the Penn State 365 podcast. Signing off.